The Jugaad of the Indian Air Force using transport aircraft as bombers. Interesting, right? Find out how. Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Aadi Achint. I'm here to tell you a story of how the Indian Air Force is using its skills of Jugaad to utilize its transport fleet as heavy bombers. It's been happening since the 1971 war. A lot of us might not be aware of this. So let's find out what the story is. The Antonov AN-12s were used in 1971 to bomb the living daylights out of the Pakistanis in various different positions, both in the western as well as the eastern sector. A western media reporter has actually stated that the Pakistanis suffered thousands of casualties, leaving apart the damage to material and equipment that was caused due to these raids. Most of these bombing raids were conducted in the night, given the fact that the Indian Air Force had complete dominance of the airspace, both again in the western as well as the eastern sector. A little bit about the Antonov AN-12. These were procured starting in the year 1961 from the Soviet Union. A total of 65 of these aircraft were procured from the Soviet Union. These were used for medium transport roles in the 1962 war as well as the 1965 war with Pakistan. Even during the 71 war, a lot of material was transported using these aircraft. The use of this specific aircraft as a bomber was first conceived by Group Captain Surinder Singh, Director of Operations of the Western Air Command, who requested one of the officers of the number 44 Squadron with some bombing experience to do some trials in the nearby bombing range. The trials, as instructed, were conducted from various different altitudes using various different combinations to get probably a feel of the entire experience. They were successful. Looking at the success of these trials, number 44 Squadron Indian Air Force was equipped with 10 AN-12s and was termed as the Mighty Jets. These aircraft were modified with specially designed bomb crates that could carry 6,000 pounds of bombs, which were delivered via conveyor belt fitted in the cargo hold of the aircraft. There was some work that was done to ensure the success of what these guys wanted to do with the AN-12. One of the first missions of the war was led by Wing Commander Vashist, flying from Bareilly, when 6 AN-12s bombed the Pakistani ammunition and supply dumps in the forest of Changamanga on the midnight of the 3rd and 4th of December. On the night of the 6th of December, the area of the Hajipir salient was bombed by the AN-12s, destroying a Pakistani artillery brigade, which was confirmed by the GOCNC of that area, Lieutenant General Sartaj Singh, who personally congratulated Wing Commander Vashist on the successful conduct of this mission. This raid dissuaded the Pakistanis from launching a counter-attack towards the movements of the Indian Army in that sector. In the same day later, the Pakistani divisional headquarters at Fort Abbas, which was the headquarters of the 18th Division of the Pakistani Army, was bombed by the AN-12s. And quite a lot of damage was resulted in this particular raid. On the 9th of December, a 4-ship formation flying at about 180 feet, damn that's low, struck Pakistani installations just across the border in a place called Haveli Lakha. On the 11th, they hit an ordnance plant at Jaidepur in the eastern sector in the erstwhile East Pakistan. A pair struck the Rohri railway marshalling yards at dusk on the 13th of December. But still, the high point of the operations of the AN-12 was the bombing of the Sui gas plant in Sindh. Flying out of Jodhpur, 3 aircraft hit this plant, and it took the Pakistanis 6 months to bring the Sui gas plant to even 50% of its production capacity from before the war. This raid happened on the 14th of December. All 3 aircraft reached back safely and landed at Uttarla Air Force Station in India. The last raid of the season, if I may put it that way, of the AN-12s was conducted on the Skardu airfield in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir region. A mixed formation of AN-12s followed up by Canberras hit this airfield. Out of 36 bombs that the AN-12s had dropped on this airfield, 28 of them hit the target with dead-on accuracy. 2 of them fell right next to the airfield. On their way back, Wing Commander Vashist's aircraft was chased by 2 Mirage 3s. He did a very smart thing, ducked into the valley where the Mirages would not be able to find him, just stayed low for a little bit until the Mirages got frustrated, gave up and went back. One of the biggest achievements of these AN-12 raids into Pakistan was the factor that none of them were lost due to any enemy attack or fire during the entire course of war. It is a point to note that a lot many of them were hit by Pakistani anti-aircraft guns or ACAGs. It is worthwhile mentioning that the targeting of this Pakistani Air Force base dealt a body blow to the Pakistanis in the northern sector. This is one of the highest air bases that the Pakistanis have at about 7 or 8,000 feet in, as I mentioned, the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Couple of funny things that happened during these raids was in one operation wherein Wing Commander Vashisht was pretty much the pathfinder of the group, was flying at about 200 feet, trying to provoke the Pakistanis to open fire on his huge aircraft going so slow in the sky. The Pakistanis would open fire and would be targeted by the rest of his gang flying at about 6,500 feet, who were able to identify the Pakistani positions and drop bombs with pinpoint accuracy. In another raid, the pilot was daring enough, flying at low level, to switch on all his lights to try and identify the Pakistani positions. Remember, we are talking about back in the day when there is no satellite imagery or GPS for the pilots to find their way or even the positions that they were trying to attack. This pilot had a bright idea of switching on all his lights, putting himself in danger of attracting fire from the Pakistanis. He did it, and the bombs that were supposed to be dropped on the Pakistanis went on target. Another very interesting thing to note is number 44 Squadron of the Indian Air Force is the only transport squadron to be awarded with the battle honours for the War of 1971 and the role that this squadron played in that war. Wing Commander Vashisht was first of the two transport pilots to be awarded the Mahavir Chakra for his efforts in the various raids that he conducted across the lines of battle. It was just not him. There were obviously a huge load of officers and men who worked very hard to ensure that the dream of using an AN-12 as a heavy bomber was successfully carried out without a single loss during the 1971 war. From the year 2010, Indian Air Force AN-32s have been used as a display for heavy bombing in various targets during the live fire exercises which are conducted in Pokhran. These aircraft were used very successfully, again with pinpoint accuracy on its targets. I wonder what the Indian Air Force has in plan when they are using such large aircraft for their strategic bombing roles. Is it time that the Indian Air Force actually thinks about a strategic bomber to be part of its force? Not a very large formation, but a small one, I guess, would do the job. Thank you for watching this video. I'll be back with more and more of such interesting stories. Till that time, subscribe to my channel, share my videos with your friends, and yes, share a thought for the soldiers standing in the battle lines, for all of us. Once a day, every day. Jai Hind.